While returning from a show, Chapelle Roan saves a girl from a creepy man chasing her. You won't believe what happens next. Help! Please, someone help me! The cry came from somewhere in the shadows between buildings. Chapelle's first instinct was to run. Every true crime podcast she ever listened to screamed at her to get out of there. But before she could turn away, a young girl burst out of the darkness, her face streaked with tears and terror. Chapelle Roan walked out of the backstage door after a show at the Venice Lounge downtown. It was raining, and the neon signs from nearby businesses reflected in the wet streets, creating colorful puddles. The venue was located between an old record store and a closed coffee shop. The purple lights from the venue sign were glowing in the night. Her blonde hair was a bit messy from performing, and she still had some glitter on her face that sparkled when she moved. She was wearing her favorite leather jacket, the same one she'd worn to every performance since becoming successful. She carried a heavy bag covered in backstage passes, band stickers, and a rainbow pin that a fan had given her at Pride last month. She adjusted the heavy travel bag on her shoulder, filled with the night's costumes and equipment, while fishing out her phone to check the time, 11:47 p.m. The streets were unusually quiet for Friday night. A sudden gust of wind sent fallen leaves skittering across the sidewalk, and Chapelle pulled her jacket tighter. She was contemplating calling a rideshare instead of walking when a desperate scream shattered the night's stillness. "Please!" the girl gasped, nearly colliding with Chapelle. "You have to help me! He's coming!" Chapelle caught the girl's shoulders to steady her. "Slow down! Who's coming after you? There's no time!" The girl's eyes darted wildly around, her breath coming in short, panicked bursts. "Please, I'm Kristen. I saw something I shouldn't have, and now he wants to hurt me. I think he's gonna kill me." Under the streetlight, Chapelle could see that Kristen couldn't have been more than 12 or 13. Her school backpack was half open, papers spilling out, and one of her shoelaces had come untied. This wasn't some elaborate setup. The fear in her eyes was real. Kristen's gaze fell on Chapelle's large travel bag. "Your bag. Could I hide in it? It's full of costumes for my show," Chapelle started to explain, but Kristen was already formulating a plan. "I could wear one. Please, I hear him coming." They worked quickly, emptying the bag of its contents. As Kristen slipped on a sequined stage costume over her clothes, her eyes widened with recognition. "Wait, you're Chapelle Roan? My sister plays your music all the time. Pink Pony Club is her favorite." "Less fangirling, more hiding," Chapelle whispered, though she couldn't help but smile at the girl's excitement, even in the midst of danger. She helped Kristen into the bag, making sure she could breathe comfortably. "Stay absolutely quiet, okay?" Just as she zipped the bag closed, heavy footsteps approached from the direction Kristen had come. A man emerged from the shadows, wearing a black hooded sweatshirt and dark jeans, even in the dim light. Chapelle could see he was built like a linebacker, with thick arms and neck that seemed to merge directly into his shoulders. "Hey," he called out, his voice deceptively casual. "Did you see a young girl run past here?" Chapelle clutched her bag tighter, grateful for the years of performance experience that helped her keep her voice steady. "Sorry, I haven't seen anyone. It's pretty dark out." The man moved closer, and Chapelle caught a whiff of cigarette smoke and something metallic. His eyes narrowed as he scanned the street. "You sure? She couldn't have gone far. She's my niece. Ran away from home after a fight with her mom." The lie was obvious, but Chapelle played along. "That's terrible. Must be worried sick about her." "Yeah," he said, his gaze dropping to her bag. "Real worried." Chapelle's heart thundered in her chest. She needed to get away from him, but running would only confirm his suspicions. Instead, she forced herself to yawn. "Well, I should get going. Long night ahead tomorrow, but maybe try that direction?" She pointed vaguely down the street. "I thought I heard running earlier." The man didn't move. "What's in the bag?" "Costumes. I'm a performer," Chapelle replied, trying to sound bored. "Just finished a show at the Venus Lounge. Mind if I take a look?" Before Chapelle could respond, a police siren wailed in the distance. The man's head snapped towards the sound, and Chapelle seized her chance. "Actually, there's a diner around the corner. Mel's place. Open all night. She ran away. She might have gone somewhere warm, right?" The man's expression shifted, calculating. "Good idea. Thanks." He walked away, but Chapelle knew better than to feel relieved. He was too calm, too controlled. This wasn't over. Once he was out of sight, she hurried towards Mel's place, not because she believed her own suggestion, but because it was the only place still open, and she needed somewhere safe to figure out what was really going on. The bells above the diner's door chimed as Chapelle entered. The fluorescent lights were almost blinding after the darkness outside. A few late-night regulars occupied the counter, and an elderly couple shared a slice of pie in the corner booth. Behind the counter, a waitress with graying hair pulled into a messy bun looked up from her crossword puzzle. "Sit anywhere, honey," she called out. Her name tag read Sarah. Chapelle chose a booth near the back, positioning herself so she could see both the front door and the emergency exit. Once Sarah had taken her order for coffee, she helped Kristen out of the bag. The girl was shaking, her borrowed costume catching the light and sending tiny rainbows dancing across the vinyl seats. "Okay," Chapelle said, sliding a menu towards Kristen. "I think it's time for the whole truth. What did you really see?" Kristen twisted her hands in her lap, the sequins on her borrowed costume catching the light. "I was walking past the old warehouse on Pine Street, the one that used to be a furniture store. My mom asked me to pick up some medicine from the 24-hour pharmacy for my little brother. He's got a really bad fever." She paused as Sarah brought their drinks. Coffee for Chapelle, hot chocolate with extra whipped cream for Kristen. The waitress had worked at Mel's place for over 20 years, and she'd seen her fair share of trouble. Something in the way these two huddled together, the young girl clearly frightened, the older one protective, stirred memories of her own daughter years ago. "You know," Sarah said quietly as she set down the drinks, "my Jenny was about your age when she helped catch a car theft ring." She smiled at their surprised expressions. "She saw something suspicious at the mall parking lot, but instead of investigating it herself, she called the police right away. Smart girl, my Jenny. Now she's a detective in Chicago." Kristen's eyes widened. "Really? What happened with the car thieves?" "That's a story for another time," Sarah winked, her weathered face crinkling with warmth. "But let's just say I know when someone needs help and when to mind my own business. You two let me know if you need anything else." The knowing look she gave them suggested she understood more than she was letting on. After Sarah walked away, Chapelle leaned forward. "She's right, you know. Calling the police would have been smarter. But since we're here now, tell me exactly what happened." "I know I shouldn't have been out alone so late," Kristen continued, "but Joy really needed the medicine. Anyway, I was passing the warehouse when I heard voices. Through the window, I saw these men unloading boxes from a van. I wouldn't have thought anything of it except I recognized some of the stuff they were carrying." "Recognized it from where?" "From the break-ins my dad's been investigating. He's a police officer," Kristen explained. "There's been this string of robberies in our neighborhood. Really professional jobs. They get in out fast, take everything valuable. Dad's been working overtime trying to catch them." "So, you saw the stolen goods," Chapelle prompted. "Then what?" "I tried to take a picture with my phone to show Dad. Thought if he had proof of where they were storing everything." Kristen's voice cracked. "But I forgot about the flash. It went off, and they saw me. I ran as fast as I could, but that man, the one in the black hood, he started chasing me. Then I saw you and..." She looked down at her costume. "I'm sorry for dragging you into this." "Hey," Chapelle reached across the table and squeezed Kristen's hand. "You did the right thing. Brave, maybe a little reckless, but right. We just need to figure out how to contact your dad without leading that guy straight to us." "My phone!" Kristen's face fell. "I dropped it when I was running. It's probably how they knew my name. They must have found it. It's okay, we can use mine." Chapelle reached for her bag, then froze. Her phone was dead. She used the last of the battery filming snippets of her performance for social media. Sarah approached their table with a coffee pot. "Everything all right over here?" Before either could respond, the diner's bell chimed again. Chapelle's blood ran cold as the man in the black hood walked in, scanning the room. His eyes locked onto her. "Kristen," Chapelle whispered urgently. "Bathroom, now." The girl slipped away just as the man reached their table. He planted his hands on the surface, leaning in close enough that Chapelle could smell stale cigarettes on his breath. "Where is she?" he demanded. Chapelle's hands trembled beneath the table. "I told you, I haven't seen..." "Don't lie to me," he growled, his voice low enough that only she could hear. "I know she's here. That costume in your bag, real cute trick. Now where's the phone with the pictures?" Just then, Kristen emerged from the bathroom, still in Chapelle's costume. She hadn't noticed the man who had his back to her. Chapelle's heart stopped. One wrong move, everything would fall apart. But Sarah, who had been watching everything unfold, smoothly intercepted Kristen. "Oh, honey, Chapelle asked me to give you a message in private. Come with me to the kitchen." Kristen hesitated, looking at Chapelle for confirmation. At the exact moment Chapelle nodded yes to signal Kristen, the man asked, "Can I check your bag?" Her nod served two purposes, saving Kristen and seemingly given permission for the bag search. For a heart-stopping moment, Chapelle realized the man had caught the direction of her face. His eyes narrowed as he tracked where she was looking. But just then, Sarah and Kristen disappeared through the kitchen door, and his suspicion melted away as quickly as it had formed. The timing couldn't have been better. If they lingered even a second longer, he might have pieced it together. The man roughly grabbed the bag while Chapelle silently thanked whatever luck had made Sarah move so quickly. "See?" Chapelle said, her voice steadier than she felt. "Nothing but costumes." The man's face darkened. "Then where?" The diner's door burst open again, this time revealing several police officers, their weapons drawn. "Freeze! Hands where we can see them!" Sarah had called the police from the kitchen phone while keeping Kristen safe. The man tried to run but was quickly apprehended. As it turned out, he was part of a notorious robbery ring that had been terrorizing the neighborhood for months. Later, as the police were wrapping up their investigation, Kristen's father arrived at the scene. "Dad!" Kristen ran into his arms, still wearing the sequin costume. "I'm so sorry I scared you, but I had to do something when I saw them with all that stolen stuff." Officer Edwards hugged his daughter tight, then turned to Chapelle. "Miss Roan, I can't thank you enough for protecting my daughter." "Your daughter's the real hero here," Chapelle replied, watching as more police cars headed towards the warehouse. "She risked everything to do the right thing." She turned to Kristen with a mock stern expression. "Though next time, maybe just call the police instead of playing detective." Kristen laughed. "Does this mean I have to give the costume back?" "Keep it," Chapelle winked. "Every hero needs a disguise." As they sat in the diner sharing much-needed cups of hot chocolate, Officer Edwards filled them in on what they'd found at the warehouse. The robbery ring had been responsible for over 30 break-ins across 3 counties. Thanks to Kristen's accidental discovery and Chapelle's quick thinking, they recovered hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of stolen property. "I still can't believe I met Chapelle Roan," Kristen said, her eyes shining. "Wait until I tell Emma. She's gonna be so jealous." "About that," Chapelle reached into her bag and pulled out a handful of backstage passes. "I'm playing at the Paramount next month. Why don't you and Emma come? I'll need someone to model that costume on stage with me." As Kristen squealed with delight, Chapelle couldn't help but smile. While this wasn't the quiet night she planned after her show, it had turned into something much more meaningful. A reminder that sometimes the most important performances happen off stage, when we choose to help others in need. But for Chapelle, the real story wasn't about being a hero. It was about a young girl's courage, a waitress's wisdom, and how sometimes the scariest moments can bring out the best in people. And every time she performed in that city afterward, she'd scan the crowd for a familiar face wearing a sequined costume, remembering the night when an ordinary walk home turned into an extraordinary adventure. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to see more videos like this, hit subscribe and tap the bell to get notified.